Hello, Wil Franklin here with Trinity River Vineyards out in Willow Creek, AVA today. And recently I talked about hillside vineyards and in general why those are so interesting to winemakers. And today I'm in a vineyard in the flats, and it'd be a great time to talk about the first principle involved in winemaking, which is getting good grapes. And getting good grapes is about balanced vines. And so we were talking about, in general, in California, the soils and the climate are such that a hillside creates a slightly struggling vine. A slightly struggling vine gives you smaller berries, more concentrated fruit, and therefore a more complex wine. But in a situation, everything's micro dependent, micro locale, micro environment. And a farmer knows this because they live and breathe and walk this land and look at these grapes all the time. And this vineyard is telling me a lot today, and it's really cool. So I'm going to take this opportunity to show you what the vineyard's showing me. But back to the vineyards in the flats right here. This is clearly not a vigorous site. These vines are struggling a little bit. I would like to see a little more canopy. And because it's been so hot, I'm worried about maybe I'm gonna need to water this year. Sometimes I don't have to water out here. But if you look at the tips of these growing vines, I'm still getting a lot of new growth. And these little tendrils are still really flexible. If it gets dried out, these tendrils just break and snap right off. I'm looking like I can get a few more weeks or more out of the water that's already in the soil. And that may give me just enough vigor here, because this is not too vigorous, and that means I'm gonna get that concentrated grape I want. So here on the flats, this is what I want. This soil is a better soil, and it's partly because of other knowledge you need to know, and that is, this is Pinot Noir on a super, grafted onto a super devigorating rootstock, meaning the rootstock doesn't go deep, it doesn't go wide. They thought at this site it would be a little too vigorous, so they put the most debilitating and devigorating rootstock on, and it's working pretty good. So I have to work to overcome such a poor rootstock. But that allows me to get really good grapes year after year in this really nice climate and soil. Now, one thing the vineyard's telling me is I don't quite need water yet. And the other thing is, if I walk across this block to the other side, we can talk about this micro understanding of habitat and niche. And now, just 2 minutes away, I'm in a habitat, soil, vineyard, and varietal type where I've got way too much vigor. Well, not way too much, but a lot. This is Malbec on its own rootstock, and it just loves this soil. I have never watered. It's a drought year, hot year. I won't water this year. And I've done some things by leaving grass grow a long time. And I even got kicker canes here, which is extra growth that I'll take off at the last minute. I'll do some thinning, I'll do some hedging, and that's how I'll get the balance over here. So we're literally talking about a stone's throw away, more or less the same soil. It's just a different plant. And I have to know how to manage both to get really nice balance out of all these grapes. Now, this also tells me in the long term, I potentially want to grow Malbec on its own roots on a hillside in shallower soils here. Then I could work less, right? So it'd be Zen vineyard viticulture. I'll put the right plant on the right soil in the right habitat, and I have to do less work. That's awesome. But I get great Malbec from this site, and if I just work it a little extra hard. Over here we had that devigorating Pinot Noir, and over here some Malbec that's pretty vigorous. We'll work it a little differently, and we'll get some really good grapes out of it. So, first principle, good balanced vines, good grapes. That's what you're after. Hillsides, flats, whatever it takes. good concentrated struggling grapes. All right, if you want to try some concentrated wines of character, farm to table wines, check out Trinity Rivers Vineyards.com, TrinityRiverVineyards.com online, or check us out our local stores in Humboldt County, Mendo, and Trinity. All right, till next time, cheers.